Okay, and we are rolling. So, welcome everybody to this week's movie club. It's called Lala Land, the movie that we are reviewing this week. Um, we are discussing Lala Land, a story of romance, a story of togetherness, a story of pure love coming together, and also a story of heartbreak and a tragedy in many ways. And many of us are sharing what we got out of this movie. And I have some interesting observations to share about this movie. But before I share, I would like to gather from you guys what you felt at different points of the movie. So we had Simi sharing with us about how she didn't like the ending, but she liked the whole tralala of the movie. And we had Dipali sharing with us that she didn't like the ghosting that took place. And I kind of asked this question that okay, have we ever been ghosted in our lives? Have we ever felt suddenly ghosted in a relationship? Has it ever happened to you where you're close, two people are very close, and then one fine day one person stops talking to the other? Isn't it interesting? Why does that behavior happen? Why would two people who've been really close suddenly stop talking to each other for a long time? Right? What could be the life circumstance, life scenario, or the psychology behind that? I have some answers, but before that, I would like to hear from each of you what you have, what you felt watching this movie. Yeah. So, Deepali, anything else you want to share?
No, you asked a question, no, ki why would somebody go? So I still have to say, ki it is how the relationship begins. It's like friends with benefits, or people are there mutually decided when it works, it works. That is one of the reason. Or it is like also there's distrust or something, and somebody does not want to go and confide and get the clarity because you believe that trust is the most important aspect of relationship. So this could be few of the factors. Rest, I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
for
that's
this,
amazing. That's one thing that's really amazing. What you said is that the context of the relationship kind of determines the future, whether it's a friends with benefits or is it a romantic committed relationship long term, kind of determines the future or the outcome of the relationship, right? That's a great point that you raised, Dipali. Yeah. So anything else you want to share?
and the third point which I shared was that sometimes you want that the other person trusts you for whatever it is, and if there's no trust, you would not want to confide in that person because
Trust.
that's the thing. Yeah,
So once the trust is broken, the relationship kind of breaks. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, okay, that's a brilliant observation, and I'm sure each one of us have had life experiences where such things resonate with us, right? In various friendships or relationships. Yeah, so thank you, Deepali, for sharing that. Right. So, would anybody else like to share what was your favorite part of this movie? So, we watched this movie, La La Land, and what was your favorite part of the movie?
I would say for me, the end was very, very important.
Mhm.
The first time I watched the movie and I saw the
Would it
end,
be,
and
sorry to interrupt, would it be possible for you to switch on your camera in case it's possible?
my network is too low, so I'm just not taking the
Okay,
risk.
no problem. Go ahead. Yeah, so you were
Um,
sharing.
so I just felt that with the first time I saw it, the end when they show those few minutes that what if they were together, it hurt me a little more because you're already telling me they're not together, and now you're showing me ki
Yeah,
if they had been together, it would be so much more beautiful and enriching.
yeah,
But after a while, I just felt that it was so beautiful for a director and a writer to actually take that initiative, because usually if there's a sad ending in a movie, you keep wondering what if, or I hope something would have happened to keep them together, keep them closer. But they took that initiative of showing you that okay, even the characters thought that after so many years apart, even they could visualize that okay, had we been together, it might have just worked,
yeah,
which happens in reality. If you bump
exactly.
into an ex, I guess that's the first thought that people get, that what if I was still with him or her? How would my life be technically now? And practically, what I started doing is if things don't work out with somebody, or even a situation, if it's not working in my favor, and if I know there's no way I can change it, if there are external factors, just for a minute to soothe myself, I think, what if it all worked out?
Yeah,
Situation doesn't change still, but I find it very cathartic and very soothing that for a minute you still have that hope, or for a minute you still know that had it worked out, how happy it would make you. For
yeah.
some reason, it works out well in my case. I think for some people, it may be the opposite, because they might feel even more
Pain.
disheartened. But in my case, it works out in a very cathartic and soothing manner.
Beautiful. Thank you for pointing that out. That was brilliant. So Nikki just
Thanks.
shared that alternative ending shown in the movie. Isn't that how we all ruminate? Like when relationships break, don't we all, at some level, sometimes wonder, maybe this could have gone well. Maybe this could have, it needn't even be a relationship, a romantic relationship that breaks. It could even be the death of a loved one, right? When you're grieving, that is also part of the grieving process. I wanted to point that out. Ki rumination is also part of the grieving process. Ki what happens is your mind kind of ruminates. Uh, this was such a close association, and a part of me wishes that this lives on. A part of me hopes that this survived. A part of me wonders what would it be like if this relationship could project into the future. And there's a part of your brain that's playing those images, doing those computations, doing those calculations. It's very much a part of grieving. It's very much a part of separation, where you do consider, maybe in some alternative universe we are together, right? It's a natural process, right? And yeah, as Nikki pointed out, it's beautiful on the part of the writer and the director to capture that. It's not only about providing the happy ending, it's about showing the reality that even after so many years and even after a decision of, no, we are not going to be together, your mind will wander and consider that during that moment of meeting with you run into your loved one, right? So that happens. And yeah, Nikki, thank you for that. Anything else you wish to add?
Uh, Another thing that I really loved was that they were really carefree. Like nowadays, even in relationships, there's so much pretense after a point. Either your ego is coming in or something or the other. Eventually, later it does. But in the beginning, when they're just getting to know each other and that liveliness in their nature and in their relationship, I think that was really amazing. And capturing it in a musical, because you have only limited dialogues that you can use after a point and still being able to convey those emotions, I think that's commendable for all people involved, be it the actors, writers, directors, everyone.
Very true. Very true. So
Thanks.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I like the way they captured that dynamic of the relationship, right? So the first half, the mating dance, so to speak, or the courtship period, so to speak. Uh, in the movie, if you had observed, they titled the seasons as summer, spring, winter, and fall. Right? When the season of fall came, literally the relationship fell, right? That was towards the ending. But in the beginning, they're showing the hot summer in that traffic jam, and in that summer, there's this yellow, and there's all is well, and it is about that summer kind of reflects the aspiration, the seeking, the struggle, where that heroine is struggling for making a place for herself, right? And this guy is struggling in finding a niche for his art form to revive a dying art form, right? Now those were two emotions I really resonated with. Like I felt one with those character, when I was seeing Emma Stone in that particular audition sequence, where in a single phone call she's just putting her soul out there. She's doing 18 expressions over 1 minute, and to just be dismissed like that, where this guy says, ha, okay, we've seen enough, bye. To face rejection, to face dismissal, and yet to be perseverant, right? That is tenacity. And I think that character, through some parts of the film, taught me tenacity, how you build resilience in life, and how you hold on to hope even in the darkest of times, right? That is something I saw this Sebastian character, the piano player, do it, right? Uh, those were some lovely parts in the beginning, that kind of sets up the character, sets the tone of this character graph that's going on, and trying to tell you what this character is seeking. She is seeking acceptance at many levels. acceptance from the public, acceptance from her lover, acceptance of her own self, right? And in the song, they showed that conflict between individuality versus conformism. Okay, we all have this conflict. It's a very internal conflict that when I'm in a group, how much do I fit in and how much do I stand out? Right now, that's one of the conflict points that many of us face in life. We all want to belong, but we also want to stand out. A way to strike that balance. And many of us go through life facing struggles with that, right? Conformity versus individualism. People who are exceptional geniuses stand out a lot. Sadly, they never fit in. And that seems to be one of their core needs. I wish I fit in. I wish I found acceptance. I wish I found my tribe, right? Exceptional people have that. And then people who are able to fit in very easily, their core need is I wish somebody would notice me. I wish I would stand out a little. So, in a very interesting yet ironical way, this is an existential conflict. Okay. And existential conflicts don't disappear. Existential conflicts remain through life, and we kind of emerge stronger and wiser through them. Okay, so that's my take on that. And with regards to their meeting, right? So that's what she wants, and what he wants is he wants to revive a dying love for jazz, right? The jazz culture is dying out, and he wants to establish and give refuge to a dying art form, right? In a place that is hyper modernizing. And in a way, to me, it also reflected this character's need for stability in life. So people who are high on trade openness and people who are high on the spirit of adventure, they do have issues with committing and staying anchored to a single place. But the secret inner desire is very much that I wish I found a sanctuary in my life. I travel so much, and yet I need a place to call home, right? And I found that need in this character, Sebastian, and the coming together of these two people was beautiful. To Sebastian, jazz meant something more than jazz. It meant the world that was familiar to him. It meant to him what was tradition, what was culture, what was that part of life which is soulful, that part of life which is not changing so dynamically, an anchor, so to speak. Music was his anchor, right? Each of us have an anchor in our lives. Have you observed? When you're highly stressed, where do you go to? I go to my books. When I'm really stressed, I go to my books. I go to fiction or I go to research. So books create a sanctuary for me. So what is your sanctuary? When you're really stressed, what is your anchor? What do you seek? What gives you refuge? Right? That might be something interesting to wonder. Right. So that part of the movie was interesting, the character establishment, right? And then their whole meeting and the romance, right? So that part was also very refreshing, right? Anybody else wants to comment about that? How was their whole attraction phase, romance, courtship phase for you? Does it remind you of your own personal story? Was there anything special that your lover did for you that you want to share with us? Something that touched your heart, something that made you feel special? Have you felt like your partner made your life better and expanded your world in some way? Have you contributed to expanding the life of your partner in some way? Anybody wants to share?
I wanted to share another point, but I think I'll just wait for somebody else to say before I
Okay.
chip in.
Okay.
We have a very shy crowd today, looks like.
Okay. Okay. So here's something I noticed, right?
I
Yeah, somebody wanted to share.
I think we kept getting hints that they were not going to end up together. Like when they used to talk about their careers or about what they are passionate about, the
Mhm.
other person used to not you know uh, give in as much as like when he used to talk about jazz or that whole explanation, or even when
Mhm.
he explained, I
Mhm.
don't think the other person was like, so they had a very good romance otherwise. you know, all the uh, lovey-dovey stuff and everything. But when you think about it from, very, so it's not just about that, right?
Hmm.
It's about everything in a relationship. So I think that is one thing I observed through the
So
movie.
you noticed how
Watched it
different they were as
again.
people.
Sorry.
You noticed how different they were as people.
Yes, yes. And while they used to talk about their own stuff, the other person used to be more so, like you said, she was constantly looking out for validation or approval.
Hmm.
He used to talk about jazz, she used to not give in as much. So
Hmm.
it all lovey-dovey in the love sort of way, but then otherwise it was not coming out as a relationship as a whole. Like,
Hmm. So you spotted early traces of incompatibility and potential conflict zones in their relationship.
yeah, when I saw it again, like not the first time, but because for the club I watched it again, तभी ऐसा लगा कि okay, हाँ, it's not going to work out maybe वैसा.
Hmm. Okay, okay, interesting observation. But we say love is blind, and we are blinded to our incompatibilities and red flags, and we dive right into the romance, don't we?
True.
Right? That's exactly what we do. We fall head over heels, we ignore the red flags, and we jumped right in. And we don't, sometimes we don't really take a pause and evaluate the compatibility of the relationship. But sometimes life doesn't allow you to do that.
Yeah,
Right?
matlab, because we also have this idea, like in the end, it shows her this thing of the, what could have been that
Mhm.
separation part. I think that is what stops most of us that, no, no, hoga, kuch to, matlab, it will happen, वैसा part that, no, no, happy endings hote hai, happy things are going to come. So there's a constant conflict between, when to decide what to decide about Vesa.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And I always feel that you know hearts are very sensitive creatures, and perhaps that's why ribs are cages. uh, I feel like that,
Good one.
I think they have wings. I think hearts are winged creatures, and that's why ribs are cages. I mean, so yeah, you do see these two characters fall head over heels for each other, despite the red flags, despite the differences, despite what Hethi pointed out as potential incompatibilities, potential conflict zones, right? And that happens to each one of us, right? In the relationships that we choose, in the romantic partners that we choose. I felt that was quite relatable, right?
Uh,
Yeah. Yes, Prem.
yeah. So I noticed that at beginning they both were very carefree in their relationship, and then he realized that if he had to practically win her over for life, then he had to win over the external environment, like as in her family members. They wanted a stable somebody who's
Mm-hmm.
financially stable. So he had to choose that responsibility versus carefreeness here. And I
Mm.
think he decided to let go of his passion for some time and choose a stable career. And then he thought, okay, then I should come back and means ultimately I think he was clear in his head that she was the girl for him. Anyhow, he was going to win her. But when they were parting for when she was going to go away for acting, I was not sure whether she was serious about keeping in touch with him, or she was just wishing him good luck for the future and
Mm-hmm.
bye bye types.
Mm-hmm. Interesting observation. So you said that the another conflict over there was uh, responsibility versus being carefree. That was a conflict point for the protagonist, right?
Correct.
And
Yeah.
he chose responsibility, and the price
Yeah.
that he paid for it was a compromise of his soul's dream, or compromise of his heart's desire, which is to play pure jazz, and kind of
Correct.
he does a negotiation with self. Okay, so we all do that. The negotiation with self is where we convince ourselves to settle for some mediocrity which we have to do in life sometimes. And the negotiation with self can also be that, okay, I know that this is not something that I love the most, but when I weigh the pros and cons, this choice seems to reap more benefits in a very practical manner. So we do have these internal negotiations with self, right? And you see this character do that negotiation with self, isn't it? And but very interestingly, the payoff was actually backfiring. You saw that that negotiation didn't really go successful, and while he was building that dream, there was a price to pay. Did you notice that also, Prem? Like, was that also part of your observation?
In fact, that was the point which I was,
Hmm.
sorry, yeah, was going to add is exactly what Prem pointed out. Because when they were going to bed, he says he doesn't like the guy and he's not going to think about it. And then next morning, when she's talking to her mom and she's trying to, he realizes where she says, no, he's, trying to find some funds for his club and things like that. So he assumes that she wants him to be steady and have a steady job, kind of a thing. And it's so sad, so many times in relationships we assume what the other person would probably want, and we go with that assumption, and then we say, okay, but I did it for you types. But this is not what. So she loved the fact that he wanted his own, and she was actually not happy about the first music opening concert when they had. She was not happy about the music he was playing because this was not what he wanted, and then she kind of felt bad about it, but not realizing that it was her conversation with her mother which kind of triggered him to take that call. And then he feels like, but this is what, when they meet that one night when he's been traveling, and then he comes back, and then it's like, but this is what I want. And it's like, so often this happens in relationships. I don't know, doctor, if you had mentioned this or I read it in a book or something. There was this about this couple who after many many years of marriage decide to divorce, and they go to this, and this psychologist is like, why do you all want to divorce after so many years? So like, she's cutting bread, and then one part of Germany, they like the ends of the bread, that is the tastiest bit, and another part of Germany, the middle part is supposed to be the best part. So she would always give him the ends, and he comes from a place where the ends were not good, and she comes from a place where ends, and says, see, all my life I've eaten ends of the bread and I hate it. And she says, but I love the ends of the bread and I hate the middle of the bread, and I always give you the ends because I love it. So so many times we look from our end, I love this, so I assume that you love this, and that is why I do it for you, because I love you so much that I do this for you. But actually that person doesn't, and like, he gave up his dream for her, and then she's like, but this is not what I want, and you gave up. And that, I think, destroyed their relationship. So it's so sad that we assume things, and actually I wish we didn't assume, but we do it all the time.
We do. And that's a beautiful story. So thank you so much for sharing that story, right? So in that story that you just shared, we can see that both the parties in the relationship are actually coming from a place of love, and they want to do something for the partner. They want to they're coming from that space, but one thing that they didn't do it is establish the communication and check with the partner, are we on the same page about this, bridging that gap with communication and checking with the partner, is this what you're expecting, is this what you appreciate, am I on
Yeah.
par with what you are seeking? uh, that was beautifully demonstrated. And also there is an ambivalence here in this movie. You can clearly see that although Mia wants him to follow his dreams, she also wants a man who has a stable job. You can see that. And she asks him, she's the one actually during the during the outing itself, he kind of dismisses the invitation from the friend, but at night she once again asks him, can you tell me about that guy, why was it a little weird about you, between you two, what did he want? And when he says he was offering me a job, she kind of was questioning, why not, why, where the nonverbals were pointing towards it. And from the tone of her conversation with her mom, it was also non-verbally conveyed that she would like this also, but he didn't ask that question. Perhaps they didn't have that kind of a rapport. Perhaps their dynamic was not a very verbal oriented relationship. Perhaps in their relationship it was all non-verbal kind of thing. But when the conflict point comes, like they're sitting on the dinner table and having that argument, that's when you can see there are layers to this, right? He's convinced himself so much already that now if he accepts that, you know what, this is not my calling, he's actually having, he needs to accept that, oh, I have made a mistake, and maybe this is not the best decision, and accepting that is not very easy. So he gets on attack mode and he tells her, maybe you're jealous, maybe you feel better when I am broke, to feel better about yourself as a struggling actress. And that wounds her. She's not able to say what he's saying is hurting me. She looks at him with tears in her eyes and she asks him, are you kidding or are you serious? He says, I'm serious. And she says, okay, now I have to leave, this is over. Right, that's a little sad over there, because somehow that wall could not be broken with just with communication, right? And oftentimes that happens because of trauma. Okay, so that's also a trauma response. Shutting down is a trauma response. Not being able to communicate is a trauma response. Ghosting is a trauma response. You might be wondering, why is this person ghosting me? Perhaps they're going through a trauma response, and the only thing that they know to do at such a time is to isolate and withdraw, because any stimulation at that point of time reminds them of pains that they've had in their lives, right? So not to end on a sad note, but I really appreciated the artistic expression in the movie. I truly appreciated the musical, the dance choreography, and also the portrayal of the characters and the chemistry between them. I really appreciated that. And I did appreciate the fact that they did not force a happy ending. They kind of showed what actually happens in life.
But
What actually,
actually, they got a closure. Like, I think when they smiled at each other, that showed a part that there was a closure.
Yeah.
right,
So,
right. Very
Yeah.
true, very true. That meeting after 5 years, that part of them, that one smile, it kind of gave each other the closure, isn't it?
I would like to
yeah,
say
yeah, yeah.
something. May I?
Yes, please.
So when I saw the movie, and I'm pretty emotional as a person, so the whole drill that they go through, I had my share of laughs and tears and everything. And in the end, when they kind of not be together, I felt like, why? Like, I'm feeling so bad. Like, please be together. Like, be an actress, but be with him. Let him do jazz and all of that. But then towards the end, when I walked out and I thought about it, and I'm like, but we are expecting so much from one person all the time. Like, our conditioning, and I may be wrong, and I would like to hear everybody's opinion on that. That we are always told that, your husband or your boyfriend or that one person, and this I'm talking about various countries, I'm not just talking about India. Expectation from that one human being, good friend, good husband, good son-in-law, good father, good person, good human being, good worker, good this, good that. But everybody is not good at everything all the time. Like, just the fact that when he was going through something and he said that statement to her, of course it was wrong. Of course her self-respect was hurt. And it's totally right that she left. I was like, yeah, go girl, leave him. Like, he doesn't deserve you at that point of time. But later when they actually parted, and I was thinking that as a viewer, I just want a happy ending, but I'm not thinking through that in real life. People are evolving constantly.
Yeah,
Your partner who you're with is going through various experiences as an individual also.
true.
So you shouldn't burden, I mean, burden may be the wrong word, but why can I not express myself or live my journey or experience things as an individual and constantly not think about, okay, my partner's going to feel this or my partner's going to feel that. Sometimes it's that space also that you give each other, right? Which I felt they were not being able to in the middle. I felt, and I may be
Yeah,
totally wrong, but
yeah,
then
yeah.
when he reaches out and lets her like, just kind of tries to push her to motivate her, to try to pursue her dream and all of that, then I was like, okay, you all should be together again. So my stance also kept changing through the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah,
But
yeah.
when I walked out and I realized, you know what, sometimes you don't get everything in life, and expecting so much from one person is so unrealistic. And it's still taking me time to adjust to the fact, because I'm still expecting that one human being to have like all qualities. But I think it's a journey, we all will figure it out.
It's definitely a journey, and we are evolving, and at different points of time we want different things from our lives, and the character graph that you see in the movie will reflect your personal growth and your journey in different ways, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, so thank you for pointing that out. And also with regards to letting go, right? For me, watching Sebastian was a major lesson on letting go, right? When she wanted to walk away, he didn't always chase her. He let her go. And even in the end, when it was about each of them following their hearts at the cost of maybe ending the relationship, he made peace with that and also bore the burden of pain. And that's a pain that I have to live with in my heart for as long as it takes. But if that's what is for your highest good, and if this is the way uh, I can love you and your choices unconditionally, then perhaps I make my peace with that and also the pain that will come along with it. But also, the price that you would have to pay, meaning the partner would have to pay, is yes, you get your distance or your separation, but you also have to bear the burden of the guilt of the possibility that existed of what this relationship could be. You have to live with that possibility. I live with the pain of the separation, and you live with the pain of this could have been something. And that's what she went through. When she sat there, even though her husband was there sitting next to her, she looks at this guy and her mind plays that entire possibility. Possibilities are not always, you know, uh, very Lala landish. Sometimes they're outlandish, but they can be painful because they remind you of a possibility that could have been. And both have to live with that in order to honor their decision of separating, right? Sometimes that's the price to pay. And I loved that portrayal of that hard hitting reality in a romantic film through a musical. So that is La La Land for you. And I want to thank each one of you for being part of this movie club and watching this movie with me and discussing it with me. I really, really appreciate, you know, your efforts and your participation. And thank you so much. All
Thank you
right.
for initiating this.